Hi everybody. So I'm going to try to explain to you guys relationship dynamics and how they work, using astrology. Okay, so when you meet somebody, the initial stage of meeting and flirting, the back and forth, the texting before you guys actually go into a relationship, that's your fifth house. That's the house of play. That's the house of romance. Okay, that's even the house of one night stands, sex, but sex, the actual performance of the sex, not the sexual energy itself, which comes from the eighth house, but the actual performance of the sex itself, the type of sex itself. That is all in the fifth house. So you can meet somebody and both of you hit it up, both of you are doing great, the flirting is great, if you guys have sex at this stage, it's great, everything is working well, you guys visualize the future together and all of that, and then you guys you guys then decide to be a couple. Once you decide to be a couple, you move from the sixth house to the seventh house. The reason why it jumped the sixth house is that the sixth house is the house of the person's daily habits, the house of the person's daily routine, their work, their diet, and the routine stuff about them. You're not going to go into the seventh house if you don't like the routine stuff about somebody in the sixth house. Okay, if you don't like the way somebody dresses, you're not going to make it into the house of actual relationship in the seventh house. If you don't like his daily habits, if he doesn't have a job, if he doesn't, if something he does in his life on the day-to-day does not suit you, they're not going to make it to your seventh house of relationships. It's not going to happen. Okay, so but when they make it into the seventh house, it means that you have seen, or hopefully you have taken a look at what they do in their day-to-day before you agree to go into a relationship with them. Because if you don't see what they do in their day-to-day and you jump into the seventh house, that thing they do in their day-to-day is going to come back and bite you in the tush. Let's say you are a Virgo, you have a Virgo sixth house. Okay, you're all about diet, you're all about fitness, you're all about cleanliness, you're all about what will I say, cleanliness, you're all about health and fitness, and the guy that you meet, you didn't notice that he's a slob, you didn't notice that he doesn't eat well and he doesn't eat healthy, you didn't notice that he wakes up in the morning and the house is sloppy and stuff like that, you didn't notice any of that, and then you jump into a relationship with him in the seventh house. That matter of the sixth house is going to come back and irritate the heck out of you, and that relationship is not going to work. So it's important that after you guys flirt and all of that, that before you actually initiate a relationship, that you look at him and make sure that what he is like on the day-to-day is in line with what you want. Okay, like for me, I have an Aries sixth house. That tells you I'm really aggressive in terms of my work, my diet, what I do my day-to-day. I'm a very aggressive person. Everything I do aggressively. There's no either do it. There's no trying in my life. If I want to do something, I jump headed with it. So I can't be with somebody who, I don't know, who does not know what they want to do, who day-to-day are struggling with making up their mind about what they want to do. I ain't got time for that. Okay, so that is important. Now, when you guys get into the seventh house, that is seventh house of the actual, that's when you guys have gone from the flirting stage to actually getting into a relationship. Okay, now what they have in their seventh house will, how will I say, will matter, because that's what's gonna help you guys pass from the seventh stage to the eighth house, from the seventh house to the eighth house. Okay, now the seventh house, look at it as the phase you guys have gone from just seeing each other to becoming a couple. The eighth house is you guys have married. You can't make it to the eighth house if you don't make it past the seventh house. What they have in the seventh house is going to determine, and what you have in the seventh house is going to determine if you guys are going to make it past the seventh house. Okay, if you have Saturn in the seventh house, or if you have Capricorn there, it tells me that you have a hard time with relationship for one reason or the other, and most likely the relationship you are in is not going to make it into the eighth house. If you have, let's say you have Gemini and your partner has, let's say, Cancer, it's not going to work. Why? Because the Gemini person, they will chase you. Let's say they have a Cancer fifth house, they will chase you, they will love you, but as soon as you guys start dating, their seventh house kicks in, the Gemini part of them kicks in. And all of a sudden, this person that was all lovey-dovey and was writing you love notes and all of that becomes like a totally different person. They become like a Gemini, like they won't even have time to write you love notes. They are like, flipping from one thing to the other, and you are like, where on earth is the person that See, it's not going to work. Okay, so you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. Like, say you have Cancer in the 7th house, and the person that you're with has Capricorn in the 7th house. It's not going to work, because in the 7th house, when you guys are now dating one-on-one, the Cancer wants all lovey-dovey stuff, and the Capricorn person does not want to have anything to do with that. They don't want to be all lovey-dovey with you, even though when you guys were dating and when you guys were still flirting, he was all there. So you gotta make it through the 7th house to actually make it through the 8th house. Now the 8th house now tells you the dynamics of the marriage itself. You guys have gotten married. It's in the 8th house that I will look and see what is actually going on in that marriage. Okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. In the 8th house, I have Gemini. Okay, and 8th house is the house of sharing, the house of intimacy, the house of what do you call it? The house of sharing with the other person, you know, being intimate with the other person openly. So the degree to which you guys have compatible planets in the signs in the 8th house is the degree to which you guys are able to share as a couple. The degree to which you guys are able to be open and vulnerable and just giving to each other. Or the degree of maturity that will help you guys, okay, kind of transcend the effects of your signs on the relationship. So for me, I have Gemini in the 8th house. What is Gemini? Mental, right? Gemini is all about, you know, detachment. They're really not into like being all deep and shit. They're really not into being all deep and being all, you know, lost in you and all of that. Even though in my 5th house, I have Pisces, which means I'm not one for one night stands, and I'm really, you know, all like into romance and all of that. So you can imagine the shock when my man made it past my 5th house. You know, we were all loving and all sweet, and get into my 7th house, and I have Taurus there, and I'm all solid and stable, and everything is great, and get into my 8th house, and I have Gemini there. He's like, so now he has Cancer there. I have Gemini. In the 7th house, he has Gemini. I have Taurus, right? So, no, he has Gemini. In the 7th house, I have Taurus. So when we get into the sharing part of our relationship, where we are actually sharing with each other, I'm the kind of person who just wants to be aloof. You know, who just wants to be, ooh, you know, you stay over there. Stay over there. You know, and he has Cancer there, so he just wants to be, lapping. I'm like, ooh, just stay, you know? So, but because I understand that, I try to accommodate him. And then he also has, because we've made it past the 7th house now. 7th house, you know, he has Gemini there, but I could understand his Gemini because I have a moon in Sagittarius. Gemini and Sagittarius are opposite signs, but they're the same sign because Gemini is the opposite of Sagittarius. So I could get him. But in the 8th house is a different dynamic. So you have to understand that for your relationship to survive, it goes through different phases, and the more attention you pay to yourself and your partner in all these different phases will determine the success of your relationship.